Well, I felt quite great actually, honestly. And whenever a Hungarian asks me, how do you find it here? I tell them, well, this is paradise for me. Because, well, I can be whoever I will here. I guess my favorite part would be the transportation here. I've traveled a little around Europe, and I find that the Hungarian transportation system is rather superior. You don't really need a bicycle or anything like that, at least as per my experience. You could just walk on foot and get on a bus, tram or metro or whatever, and you can be where you please, at least here in Budapest. So, well, that's one thing I like about Budapest. And the other would be the pretty buildings.
There are actually quite a few venues which are specifically dedicated to classical music. The first one that comes out of my mind is the Opera House, which is, of course, mostly dedicated to operas, but sometimes you can attend ballet concerts or just, normal classical music concerts there as well. And of course, there are other destinations for specific genres. For example, in maybe Budapest Park, you can attend rock or pop music concert, Dürer Kert, or maybe even in the A38 boat, which is a very special music venue close to the Latmangyos campus of ELTE. And sometimes you can even have concerts in the stadiums as well. So I think, there are a lot of options out there. And I believe that if you are really a fan of music, you can find a lot of options and just enjoy your time. If you want to discover the Buda Hills, then the Children's Railway is a really unique opportunity for you because it will run through those parts of the Buda Hills, and you can see a lot of beautiful sceneries up there as well. Another way to discover the Buda Hills with the Budapest transport system is to go to the Zugliget Chairlift. I would also recommend trying the Zugliget Chairlift, especially during the winter times, because on your journey up there, you can see how the hills are covered with snow. It is in a fairy tale.
ELTE Walk. Everything you need to know about ELTE.
Welcome to the second season of the ELTE Walk podcast, a program of the ELTE International Strategy Office, which has been created to present everything you need to know about Eötvös Loránd University as a prospective or current ELTE student. This program is produced in cooperation with Eper Radio, the first university radio in the city of Pest. I am Raissa Negrão, ELTE's International Student Ambassador and PhD candidate at this university, joined by my co-host, Flora Ishkum, head of the International Office at the Faculty of Education and Psychology of ELTE. Today, in our episode, we are talking with our special guests, our students Khanh Dang Hoang from the Faculty of Social Sciences, Trán, and Ahmed Izhaam from the Faculty of Economics. Welcome to our podcast, guys. Could you please introduce yourselves first? Where are you from and what do you study here at the university?
My name is Ahmed Izhaam if you will, and I come from a small island out of the many thousands in the Maldives. And I study finance and accounting in the university, and overall, I like it here.
Lovely. How about you, Linh?
Hi, everyone. My name is Linh, and I am currently a second-year student at the Faculty of Social Sciences, and I study international relations. And I come from Vietnam.
Hello, I'm Sơn. I'm from Vietnam also, and I'm studying at Faculty of Economics. I study finance and accounting. I'm a freshman, so very nice to meet you.
It's very nice to meet you too. I hear that you have come from a long way. How did you choose Budapest? So how did you decide that you want to come to Budapest to study?
Okay, so actually my story is quite long, but I will try my best to condense it. So I actually came to know about Hungary and ELTE in 2018. So it was 6 years ago. I attended a study fair, which was organized by the delegation of the European Union in Vietnam. And that's how I got to know about Hungary and about Budapest and everything in general, because I met one representative from ELTE there. And they actually gave me a lot of useful information about the university. And at that time, I already kind of decided in my mind that, well, it could be, the university that I would like to attend in the future. But at that time, I was only in my 10th grade. I was only like a freshman in high school, so it took some more time for me to mentally prepare for it. And it went a long way, of course. And, and then a few years later, it turned out that, okay, it has turned out to be a reality. And I was able to set my foot in Budapest. And I started my academic journey there.
Okay, and Son, well, you're also from Vietnam.
Yeah, my story is a little bit different because I prepare for my master and I don't have plan to bachelor. So I think that which country should I go? And then I just start researching about which country have close relationship with Vietnam. So I will have a lot of Vietnamese friends like that. And then I find out Hungarian. And I also read an article and people said that Hungarian are very smart because your language make you have work in both sides of the brain, and also that Hungarian have a lot of Nobel Prize. And I never see so much Nobel Prize in such a small country. And I think, because that country are very smart, so I want to study at that country. And I think that's the best place to study in the capital. So that's why I'm to Budapest.
How about you?
So ELTE wasn't my first option. I finished high school and I finished it fortunately with very good results. And hence I applied to all the scholarships I could find. And I got accepted into 3 of them. One was Hungary, of course. The other was India. And the next one was China. I decided on Hungary because, well, first of all, it's Europe. And then there were other benefits included in that as well. For example, you could work here as well. And the culture here isn't very rigid and strict. It's more free-flowing. And the freedom element is much more visible than in China or India, I believe, at least in my opinion.
I just wonder how it fulfilled your expectations. I mean, when you arrived in Budapest, was it what you expected or was it very different? So how did you feel?
Well, I felt quite great, actually, honestly. And whenever a Hungarian asks me, how do you find it here? I tell them, well, this is paradise for me. Because, well, I mean, I can be whoever I will here. The freedom, as I mentioned earlier. All in all, it makes a good drink that I would like to drink.
How about you, Linh?
Well, I actually have a lot of things to talk about this. Because when I first arrived in Budapest, my first impression was that this city looked very different from my hometown. So, okay, I live in the capital of Vietnam, Hanoi, and it is like every other booming metropolitan areas in Asia in general. So a lot of high-rise buildings, a lot of traffic and everything. There is always noise. But when I first came here, the first thing that I noticed was that there were actually no high-rise buildings here. I mean, yeah, that is my first impression. And the architectural styles are very much different. Like they actually in Budapest, they can preserve a lot of, more historical buildings, especially in the city center. And I think it is one of the reasons why this city is very appealing to international tourists, because it can give you, this vibe of something in the past that is still present in all modern times. And the second thing is that I noticed that Budapest is a city of trams. So basically in Hanoi, like there is no tram at all. We used to have one system like maybe in the 70s or 80s, but the city just decided to demolish them altogether. So we have no trams now. So when I first arrived in Budapest, it was actually the first time in my life that I had ever seen a tram. And it was so beautiful. Like, I came here in early September. It was very sunny. The weather was very beautiful, and just the sunlight just cast a very unique hue onto everything all together. So I can feel like the tram line, the 4-6 tram line, the very famous one, and the buildings were also covered with a layer of gold. It was my first impression, and I was really struck. Like, it is still fresh in my memory, even after 2 years of already living here, and my first impression is still there, it's still fresh, and it really, was the start of my journey. It was so beautiful.
That's lovely. Son.
My first impression is very funny because the first thing, normally I thought about European country, and I think that it's about skyscraper building like the movie I see in New York or in London. But when I come here, I say, oh, there are no actually high building. Everything look old and look the building is so beautiful, and I very love it. I never thought I could be someplace like it. And also Budapest have a lot of castle, and I never thought about the castle inside the city where I can just go and visit it. And oh, that's very nice. And one more thing is about the traffic. In Vietnam, we are so much bike, and the traffic sometimes a little bit crazy because so many people. But in here, I barely see any traffic jam.
Oh, that's different. Things are different from different aspects, because living in Budapest and driving in Budapest for me is I just don't like to use my car in the city because of the traffic jams. So I don't know what I would say in your country.
Yes. In my experience here, also, you don't have traffic jams.
Oh, you don't?
No. Oh. Not. I mean, you might have, of course, but not in this high level, I would say. Driving here is very chill, I would say, from my personal experience. But see, people from different places, they have different perspectives. That's very impressive. And since you mentioned that you found some differences from your home countries and here, before you come, how did you prepare before coming here? Did you start, I don't know, searching about the language maybe? Or did you prepare beforehand at all? Or you came just with open mind and adventure hearts?
I have a little bit prepared for it because I talked with some Vietnamese who used to live in Budapest, and they said some stuff and where I should to go and how I go come from the airport to go home because I had never been here before, and how some stuff like that. And I prepared a little bit.
Okay, so on my part, I think it is more or less the same experience with Son, but I would say that I was a little bit more prepared because I actually started picking up some Hungarian before I came here. My mother managed somehow to find a Hungarian textbook, and she gave it to me. And so I started, learning all the basic materials all on my own. I think around 3 months before I started flying to Budapest. And another thing was that I found a few Hungarian novels translated to Vietnamese in the Vietnamese bookstores as well. For example, The Stars of Eger. I think this novel is probably very famous for Hungarians. It's Egri csillagok. Yeah. And for me, it is a really thick book, and I spent the whole summer reading it, from the beginning to the end and again, and a few other books as well. But unfortunately, I could not bring them to Hungary with me. So that's basically how I mentally prepared for my study in Hungary.
I would be interested to know whether the Hungarian that you learned back home to prepare had anything to do with the Hungarian that you heard here? Or could you use your Hungarian language?
Well, actually, that is a very interesting question because I only had enough time to learn the very basic things, very basic phrases, grammatical points, maybe something very brief about the Hungarian culture, or about the Hungarian way of life. So, I just got enough grammar to get by, the very basic conversations where you have to go to a store and then you have to converse with a cashier when you pay, for example. But, by the time I eventually set my foot in Europe, it didn't really have much, but I think, it served as a really useful starting point for me because I actually started immersing myself in the Hungarian culture before I came here. So it felt like as if I already knew something about Hungary. So when I eventually arrived here, I would not be too intimidated by the new way of life and new experience, I would say.
And me, well, I didn't really prepare much for my journey to Hungary and settling here. Well, for one part, my uncle had a Hungarian friend who was helping me. And the other part, I'm a very lazy guy. And well, I did ask a few friends about Hungary and all that because they work in the resorts and they meet Hungarians. And the only, thing that I really got from them were that the women in Hungary were pretty and beautiful. And I think I can agree with that when I first set my foot in here. And other than that, for the visa, there was an interview which I was supposed to attend to. And for that, I did research a lot about Hungary, and I did find Hungary a very interesting country.
Okay, and what is your favorite thing about Budapest, if you have one?
I guess my favorite part would be the transportation here. I've traveled a little around Europe, and I find that the Hungarian transportation system is rather superior. You don't really need a bicycle or anything like that, at least as per my experience. You could just walk on foot and get on a bus, tram or metro or whatever, and you can be where you please, at least here in Budapest. So, well, that's one thing I like about Budapest. And the other would be the pretty buildings.
Well, I would actually say the same thing. So two of my favorite things about Budapest is definitely the transportation system, which is very well organized and I would say of high quality. Partly because I have to say that in my country, the transportation system is not the same. So it really felt different for me, you know. And the second thing is, of course, the pretty historical buildings. But I would add a bit more to that. So actually, after you have been living here for some time, maybe you can get a bit familiar with everything and you can get bored. But maybe for me, I will never feel bored whenever, you know, I come to the Danube bank at the sunset and I wait for the Parliament building and the Buda castles to be lightened up. Whenever I go there, I just did that a few days ago, and it is something that I am really pleased to do again and again.
I understand what you're saying, absolutely, because I remember when I was a child, I've always lived in Budapest. And when I was a child and we were coming home from the countryside with my family, I always asked my father to come by the river Danube because I loved the sights and I loved the buildings, the Parliament House and the lightings, and I absolutely can imagine what you're saying. This is one of my favorite bits of Budapest as well. How about you, son?
Oh, my favorite part of Budapest actually historic building like Fisherman Castle and Buda Castle. I very love it because I grew up with a story about history. I very love the story about medieval age when you live in a castle. And actually, every kid wants to be a king, right? And because when I see the building, I can see, oh, that was my dream. Maybe how the building, how the king lived, how something in the past looked like. And I love it.
Since Linh touched upon the Hungarian language, and I understand that Son and Izhaam, you just arrived in Budapest last semester, right? Yeah. Last year. How is being learning Hungarian language for you guys? Are you, Izhaam, also learning Hungarian language? How do you feel the language so far?
Well, I do want to learn Hungarian because I grew up in Sri Lanka, though I'm from the Maldives. And in Sri Lanka, there's the main language of Sri Lanka. There are two languages, Tamil and Sinhala. Sinhala is the main one, the majority, the one that's spoken by majority of the population. And my parents would usually tell me to learn it, but I never believed them. And now I kind of regret it. And grown up and having learned that lesson, I do not want to regret it again. So I really want to learn Hungarian, but unfortunately, it is very difficult. Though I'm trying, I am seeing little success. But hopefully, I will be successful. Because I believe that if you really want to do something and if you work towards it, you can achieve it. Nothing is impossible. And so one day you will see me in this podcast speaking Hungarian fluently.
Hopefully. Yeah, it's a very difficult language. I have tried. I know very little. I should know more, but I totally understand the struggle because it's very hard. But you can get there. How about you, son?
I just finished Hungarian exam. Actually, I think I prepared pretty well because I asked everyone around and we have oral exams. So I prepared questions. This question maybe happened. This question, prepare the answer, everything. And I thought everything would be okay. And thankfully, I'm passed.
Congratulations for passing your exam. And how do you find it to live in Budapest but not speaking Hungarian? In restaurants, for example, how is your experience?
Well, I mean, I haven't really thought about it. I like it here, and I really do like it here. The people are quite kind to me. And, I mean, personally, I do not find it a problem to me or anything like that.
So, do you think you can survive speaking English only in Budapest?
I mean, here I am right now, so yes. I guess it is possible. But then I do want to learn Hungarian too. And since the English spoken here by the locals isn't the best and they'd rather prefer Hungarian, I think it can be a boost for me to learn Hungarian too. And so, for example, when I'm in a restaurant or in the supermarket or whatever, they usually talk to me in Hungarian, and I try to reply back to them in Hungarian as well. Like I say, Szia, or Jó napot kívánok, köszönöm, viszlát, and things like that.
How about you guys, your experience?
Because I'm not very good at Hungarian, so a lot of things they said I don't understand. But I think Hungarian people are very friendly. So even I don't understand, they try to explain it. And sometimes they use Google Translate. I very love that. And they try, and they ask me, I'm a Vietnamese, and they translate from to Vietnamese so I can understand it. And other thing I do is that I have some Hungarian friends, so normally I go with them. And if I don't know anything, they go speak to them, and I go speak to him in English. That's why I'm surviving right now.
And you, Linh?
Well, in my case, it's a bit different. So I actually think that learning a bit of Hungarian is very beneficial to international students because, of course, in Budapest, a lot of people can speak English well. And in many cases, some of them can speak more than 3 or 4 languages at the same time. I have met them before. The thing is that, when you come across older people, maybe in the stores, for example, they may not understand English well. So, of course, in that case, it is better to equip yourself with a few useful Hungarian phrases. I come across them quite often when I go shopping because, a lot of older people, they work at supermarkets or stores as cashiers. So, like in that case, I always say to them in Hungarian, like, "Kotával, szeretnék fizetni." So I would like to pay by card. So, those very useful phrases that can save you some time and maybe sometimes even your face too when, there is some misunderstanding between you and other people. But I would say that in most cases, you will survive with English quite fine in Budapest, I would say. And another thing is that sometimes it is also useful to learn a bit of Hungarian, especially when you need to move around, because sometimes there can be some unexpected notification on the buses or on the trams about a certain disruption within the traffic. If you do not understand it, then you may get into some trouble because for most students here, the public transport is the main means of transportation for them. So speaking from my experience, it is important.
Well, you all mentioned that you quite like public transport in Budapest. How do you use it? I mean, where do you go, or which parts of the city of Budapest are you familiar with, or where do you travel within Budapest?
For me, it is mostly the inner districts. So, those districts on the Pest side that is located within those small ring roads, so like the Kiskörút, and also most of the districts on the Buda side, because I always come to the Buda side for short hiking trips or go to the dormitories on the Buda side. I am not that familiar with the outer districts on the Pest side because they are mostly residential districts, and I do not have a lot of business to go there. So I would say this is my experience.
For me, I'm normally for every day I have to go to school, so university, and then go home. And I spend a lot of time around some famous building like Parliament and Buda Castle because I just love the architect from it.
I was just thinking, which spot's your favorite in Budapest? Do you have a favorite spot? Linh mentioned the Danube bank. Do you have, favorite spot in Budapest?
I like a Hero Square actually because right next to it they have a park and I can walk around and I can look at the nature.
And there's also a castle in City Park.
Yeah.
You're a fan of castles, yeah?
Yeah, that's right.
I guess my favorite part of the city is the part where the Ferris wheel exists. And I like walking around that part of the town, thinking about various stuff.
You mean that Budapest in the arc,
yeah,
right?
The Ferris wheel.
The Ferris wheel, okay.
In a place I like.
I just wonder, when you say that you like spending your time on your own, wandering, thinking about life and enjoying yourself, but do you belong to a community in Budapest? Have you found some friends that are the same nationality, perhaps among students or other communities? So do you have somewhere to belong?
Well, actually, I work for the Vietnamese Students Association here in Hungary as, a member of the communication department. So we have a few events for the Vietnamese students here, and sometimes we have a lot of activities that help promote the images of the Vietnamese people in Vietnam to the local Hungarian communities. For example, last year we went to a small Hungarian city called Zalaegerszeg, I think in the southern part of Hungary, and we had Vietnam's cultural or national day there. And also at ELTE, I am a part of the International Student Advisory Committee, and we are actively working to promote the integration of international students at ELTE into the university life. So I feel like I really belong there because I understand the mission and the vision of this organization, and I am very willing to commit to their work in the future, I would say.
What about you guys?
In Hungary, especially Budapest, we have Vietnamese student ambassador and some Vietnamese student. I just enjoy the activity, the event. I just come and enjoy, talk with some Vietnamese friend. And I also, now I'm joining with them to we have some Vietnamese students to get a scholarship to Budapest, and I'm a mentor of them. I try to teach some guy about how to apply, how to prepare. Hopefully, a lot of them will come here to enjoy.
I just wonder how you spend the time when you are not at the university. So, do you find any options for spending your free time, like concerts, culture events, or exhibitions? So what have you experienced?
I actually have some hobbies, quite expensive ones to be honest, which is going to concerts. I am very passionate about music. I wanted to be a music, sometimes when I was small. So I attend a lot of concerts, most of them classical music because I like, classical music. I went to concerts every few weeks or so. And another thing is that I am a fan of abstract art. So sometimes I will go to the museums to look at, some new exhibitions or some new art.
Raisa, you've been here. You've been in Budapest for quite a long time. Have you got some experience with culture events?
Yes, I wanted to add actually some things that I can even advise you since you were here. The guys are here for a little while. I really like concerts as well. I have been to a few in Budapest Park. For instance, a band that is my favorite is Arctic Monkeys from the UK. And I know that when they go on world tour, it's quite expensive in other countries, but in Hungary it's quite affordable in a way. So I have been to a few international concerts in Budapest Park and also the Sziget festival. That is one of the biggest summer festivals of Europe that I highly recommend you to go. I think it will be your first summer, right, in Budapest?
It is, yeah.
Yes. So the Sziget Festival is a big thing. If you like festivals, even for one day, it's really worth it.
Is it in August?
Yes, at the beginning of August. Yeah, it's really warm and it's in an island in Budapest. It's just perfect. People from all over the world can travel here for it. Also, the museums in the free museum days, they are the best. Have the 3-day that it's so free, and I have been to almost all of them. And actually, I go again and again. When those days come, I go again and again. And sometimes there are those little small events, in the city. For example, there was one about Asian cuisine in a food park once, and Mexican festival as well. So I'm always checking. There is this We Love Budapest website that shows all these events. They are just amazing. So many things to do.
So you say that some of the museums are free on certain days. And which museums have you visited, perhaps?
I have visited the Fine Arts Museum, also that one in Buda Castle, the Buda Castle Museum. I don't know if the name is this. And also they opened the archives of the library up there to Buda Castle as well. The Parliament, I went, I think, 4 times. It's beautiful inside. Also the Holocaust Museum. these are a few that I can recall from my mind.
Can I ask a question? Which one was your favorite?
The Buda Castle, because it's impressive, the history inside of Budapest, because it's from the medieval times until nowadays. You can see something from different eras. It's just like a travel in time. And they have some temporary exhibitions as well. And adding to that, the view from there, from the castle, from inside to the Danube and the whole city is just spectacular. So you have the view plus the museum inside.
Linh, you said that you like classical music. Where did you go to listen to some classical music in Budapest?
There are actually quite a few venues which are specifically dedicated to classical music. The first one that comes out of my mind is the Opera House, which is, of course, mostly dedicated to operas, but sometimes you can attend ballet concerts or just, normal classical music concerts there as well. I have been to the Opera House for operas and for classical music concerts as well. The second place is the Academy of Music, which is named after the very famous Hungarian composer Franz Liszt. Yes, that is correct. In Hungarian, it's Liszt Ferenc. Yeah, and I have been to many concerts there. We have the paying concerts, but we also have a lot of free concerts, the smaller ones, in which the students of the academy will perform. And you can attend those concerts for free, especially, the graduation season is coming soon, and a lot of students are giving their graduating performances. So I can highly recommend you to find a specific free concert to go there and to, enjoy the music and enjoy the talent of those students of the academy. I highly recommend it. I actually have a few friends who are studying there, and they are inviting me to their graduating concerts. The third one is the Pesti Vigadó. Of course, this building is recently renovated. The concerts are not really, organized that often there, but there are quite a few. And you can check the schedule of their programs on the website. But of course, Pesti Vigadó is used for many other purposes as well. The fourth one is the Műpa, so like the Palace of Arts. It is actually like a complex which consists of a museum, the Ludwig Museum, and the Palace of Arts, which is where the concerts take place. In Műpa, they have the Bela Bartók National Music Hall, in which a lot of opera concerts or classical music concerts are held there. And in any season, they have a lot of interesting guest artists from all over the world who come to Műpa to perform. For example, I think in the next few days, one of the most famous pianists of our modern time, Hoang, will perform there. And if you are a fan of classical music, I can highly recommend you to go to Műpa, every often. There was a period during which I went to Műpa every week because the concerts were so exciting. And not only do they have a lot of classical music concerts there, but also ballet, also theatrical arts, sometimes even Hungarian folk music or jazz. So there are a lot of options for you to choose from at Műpa. So yeah, just talking from my experience, those are the 4 locations in which you can enjoy classical music and other types of concerts as well. And of course, there are other destinations for specific genres. For example, in maybe Budapest Park, you can attend rock or pop music concert, Dürer Kert, or maybe even in the A38 boat, which is a very special music venue close to the Latmangyos campus of ELTE. And sometimes you can even have concerts in the stadiums as well. For example, last summer, I attended a Rammstein's concert at the Puskás Ferenc Stadium, which was mesmerizing. So I think, there are a lot of options out there. And I believe that if you are really a fan of music, you can find a lot of options and just enjoy your time.
Yeah, well, I can see that you are interested in classical music. You gave us a very big choice of how and where we can listen to classical music. There's also the House of Music in City Park. That's also a new venue, a new building, and there's a great variety of different kinds of music you can listen to there.
Yes, I have been to House of Music too, but only for the exhibitions there. I haven't actually attended any musical concerts there, but I think I will try in the near future as well.
And at the beginning, you also mentioned that you quite like hiking. And, well, Budapest offers some possibilities for that as well, because if you look at the map, you can see that Budapest is situated along or by the river Danube, and it has two sides. One is a flat part, Pest, and the other part, Buda, is hilly. And you can go hiking in the hills. Have you done that since you've been here? Linh, you have, perhaps?
Yes, actually quite often. Well, during the academic period, I often do not have enough time to go for hiking. So sometimes I would just spend an afternoon on the Gellert hill or maybe on the Castle Hill, and I walk a lot around that area. But when I actually have time, I will spend maybe a day up in Normafa, or or on those hills, those Buda hills surrounding Normafa, because it is actually a very popular hiking trail for the Budapest residents when they have time. And also, if you go a little bit further north, but still within the borders of Budapest, maybe in the 2nd or the 3rd district, there are a lot of smaller hills as well, which are not actually well known by international people here. So they are mostly known to the locals. And I have hiked some of those hills as well during the spring. And I was really astonished by the lack of people up there. So I spent a lot of time on my own and enjoying the scenery. And it's also very quiet because they are a bit further away from the city center. And also sometimes I can spend a lot of time, maybe in the 12th district, because I think it is one of the hilliest districts of Budapest. And it is very calming to just, let yourself be where you are and enjoy the beautiful scenery. You have a lot of trees, greenery, and beautiful houses up there as well.
Also, I have tried the children railway. Is Linh? You can talk a bit about it. Just a curiosity, the children railway is a fantastic program. It's the longest railway in the world in the Guinness Book of Records. It's more than 11 kilometers that is run only by children. So the children work there. They sell tickets, they eat stamp. It's a great program and it's beautiful as well. What's your experience with it, Linh?
I could say, first of all, the children are very cute. Yeah. And if you come to the stations of the children's railway, you can actually see a lot of boards on which they list the name of the children who work there, in between the years. I would say, the experience is very memorable because, it's very unique. I haven't even heard about something similar to that in my whole life. For sure. And also, if you want to discover the Buda Hills, then the Children's Railway is a really unique opportunity for you because it will run through those parts of the Buda Hills, and you can see a lot of beautiful sceneries up there as well. And another thing is a tram number 60, which is actually not a tram, but more like a cogwheel railway, which is also another, I would say, way for you to discover the Buda side and the Buda Hills as well. Another way to discover the Buda Hills with the Budapest transport system is to go to the Zugliget chairlift, because they are really unique in the way that, of course, they are, a chairlift system, and you can get, from the bottom of the Buda Hills station on the ground, and then you will go right up to get to very near to the top of the, I think, Széchenyi Hill, which is the highest hill within the administrative border of Budapest, which is also where the Erzsébet lookout is located. And from that lookout, you can have a very spectacular view of the whole city altogether. Not only, the city center, but also, to the western side, you can see the even more hills, the greenery section of the Pest County and the nearby towns as well. So I would also recommend trying the Zugliget chairlift, especially during the winter times, because on your journey up there, you can see like how the hills are, covered with snow. It is like, in a fairy tale. So I have experienced that before, and I still want to try it again when the next winter comes.
Do you do any sports at all? And do you have any options to do sports in Budapest? There are quite a few swimming pools in Budapest you can go to. And if you go running, have you tried Margaret Island?
I just been in Margaret Island yesterday. And it's the first time I've been in it. And very nice. The weather so nice and everything is really like so much tree. I very love it.
Yeah, and they have a very nice running track. So you can go there to do jogging or running.
They also have this little zoo in the Margaret Island. They have also a famous thermal bath that in summer is open, and it's currently my favorite. I'm talking about the Palatinus thermal bath. It's very affordable for students, one of the most affordable for students compared to the others, the famous ones. And then you can just stay on the sun and has so many pools there that you can swim. It's a great program to go alone or with someone. I love Palatinus thermal bath.
I've walked around Margaret Islands a few times. Interesting place. And actually, interestingly, it is larger than the island I'm from.
Is it?
It is, yeah. By a small margin, but approximately that is the size of the island I come from.
Wow.
Around 2 square kilometers. And I think that's the size of Margaret Island as well.
But I just remember, even if you don't like sports much, which I'm not a sporty person as well, and I'm ashamed of this. In Budapest, there are a lot of sport events, for example, that you can just watch professional athletes doing their best. So here, for example, I have attended the World Aquatic Sport event. So I went to synchronized swimming and diving. Also the Euro 2020 or the Euro Cup, that some games happened here in the past. The Athletics Championship, Judo World Championship. So here it's a venue for so many interesting sport events that even if you are not a sporty, but you can still watch and see, like, it's very interesting.
And you don't even have to be a sportsman to do some kinds of sports. I'm thinking of cycling. It's possible to do cycling in Budapest, but there are kind of bicycles that you can borrow, drop wherever you are, where you want to leave them. And also in the winter, we have a very nice skating rink in the city park where you can just go ice skating. Even if you don't have ice skates, you can borrow. And the surroundings is beautiful. So I can just suggest that you try it. You can even learn ice skating if you haven't done that before.
Thank you for the suggestion.
And they have smaller ones as well, because the city park can be intimidating for someone who never tried, because it's huge.
It's huge.
They have smaller ones in a few districts that are more local, so not so many people there. So they have one behind our faculty in winter at ISU in that little park.
Oh, in
Hoang, yes, this winter they had. So it's very, very, I think, interesting thing to do. I come from a hot country, and ice skating, it was the first time here. It was like extremely exciting for me. I love it. Have you experienced any other unique, public transportation here? Budapest also has this, besides the bus, metro, tram, this non-traditional public transportation. We also have the bikes that you can rent, the boobies. They are, if I'm not mistaken, they cost 1,000 or 1,500 per month. And then you can actually take it for 30 minutes for free in any station and drop in any station. And then if you pass 30 minutes, you pay, I think, 24 forints per minute, if I'm not mistaken. But in the episode notes, there will be a link for the boobie, because maybe my memory is not the best, but I know it's very affordable because it's a subscription for the whole month. And then you can just take it and drop it and go around with it. It's very good. Also, they have those scooters like everywhere in the city as well, that you can just rent, those electric scooters, Lime and...
The thing is, I come from such a small country, we don't even have traffic or anything like that. Actually, I would really love to move around with a bicycle or with the scooter, but I just don't know how to do it.
Maybe you can try Margaret Island.
Maybe
this is a safer, closer, not trafficy place.
Yeah.
They have there as well. And as you mentioned, walking the city is very easy as well. You can reach, since it's not a big city, a huge city, you can walk from point A to point B easily. So walking is also a great option here and safe.
Well, we would like to thank you, Son, Izhaam, and Linh, for coming and sharing your experiences about Budapest with us today. It's been a pleasure talking to you. In our next episode, we are going to explore about Hungary and how our international students experience living in our country. It was Raissa and Flora in the ELTE Walk podcast series today. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.